So welcome everybody to this live webinar with saasguru. Today we'll be speaking about Salesforce integration basics. So this webinar will be, primarily be focusing on very basic aspects of integration. What is an integration, the importance of that, and then what are APIs, how do we use them, different aspects of integration related to Salesforce, and then we'll be diving a bit into the tools we should use and what are different data formats we should use for integration. So that will be pretty much it. And then we'll also be demoing certain standard APIs offered by Salesforce. Let me start with a quick agenda introduction here. As discussed, right, it will be what is integration and why is it required? That is the key question which comes across a lot. Then what is an API? We'll be diving into the Salesforce integration, then different aspects and types of integrations. What is authentication, which is kind of a very important key factor when it comes to integration, because it is like data privacy needs to be taken care. Then we have JSON. JSON is basically a data format which we'll be talking about, and then how to use JSON with Apex just on a higher level. And then we'll also be talking about XML, right? And we'll conduct a demo on standard APIs and tools to be used with that. So I'll just introduce myself. I am Sanjeev. I am founder and CEO at Keezy Consulting, and I basically head the delivery at Keezy as well. I am also the chief architect, and I am a Salesforce certified architect with 12 certifications. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or the saasguru community anytime. Perfect. So let me start with a quick introduction with saasguru. So saasguru, as you all know, right, is a supercharging your skills and helping you with the cert prep. The fundamental, I think, key element which differentiates saasguru is the community here. So I think community plays a vital role. It helps you collaborate, engage with other gurus, which definitely helps you escalate your career. saasguru also provides these tailored assessment and courses basis your performance and progress. So it is basically AI powered and helps you assess yourself basis your progress and not a structured course here. So that is something that I love about it. And then it is also kind of summarized. So it is not lengthy videos, right? Hours long videos and that boring content. It is more about the short form content, and have micro modules which help you track your progress. And they also have this amazing dashboard where you can see where you are and what percentage of course have you covered. Then talking about this gamified version of things they have, the Slack community helps you with the group studies, gives you a lot of challenges. Then you have the global leaderboard, which helps you create a competitive spirit, and it helps you accelerate your career and also collaborate with other folks across the community. So amazing tool. I remember when I started almost 8 years ago, there was no community like this. There was definitely Trailhead, but it was not as engaging as saasguru community with 20,000 folks available on different platforms. So I would suggest please leverage this, and learning is like a key aspect. So just leverage whatever you can. Talking about saasguru community, right, as I mentioned, so we have a great Slack community as well as the LinkedIn community. I think we are really active on Instagram as well. And Slack community is, I think, amazing. You can reach out to the gurus there, clarify your doubts. I'll also give you a small demo on how to use that community. But also the product tips, updates are available on the community. Then you have a lot of live classes, webinars every week, which you can leverage free of cost. And these are by the industry experts. So please leverage these and understand how things operate, because Salesforce is launching like new things every day, and you need to understand the basics along with other new skill sets to acquire. That is really important. And then I think the foremost part of the community is the 24/7 live support by gurus. So you put in a question and some or the other guru will definitely respond to you. So that is the amazing part here. Please join in case you have not to the Slack community in specific. Now I'll start with a small demo with the saasguru and Slack demo. Let me. So guys, just start with let's start with the saasguru website first. So as you can go to the saasguru Go and see, we have the boot camps available. We have cert prep courses available. Then if you want to prepare for the interview, we have something called as interview GPT. Uh, Talking about live classes in specific, go to these live classes, click on view upcoming live classes, and it will route you to the next live classes. Like today we have this integration, Salesforce integration basics. Then tomorrow I think Amit is presenting, so you can register here and just enjoy the free webinars. And I think they are really add value to your career. So this is the saasguru Slack community, right? And you see this, we have different channels. One is for general, you can post your general content here. Then you have ask for help, wherein you can go out, ask your doubts. People are really collaborative. We have around 20,000 people here, and everybody's collaborative. They respond and gel up to learn. And you can also book a mentor in case you have certain doubts. You can go to this book a mentor channel. You can book your mentors. You can reach out to the mentors and gurus available here. Then celebration time is also another amazing thing. People post their certifications and stuff like that, which encourages other folks as well. And you have comedy club again. So apart from work, it is also important to collaborate, right, and have fun. So this is another fun channel we have. We also have some referrals and Salesforce job openings channels here. You can also reach out to these channels in case of any assistance there. Now, starting with the webinar, we'll start with what is integration and why is it required. Firstly, so this is really important, right, to understand why we are doing what we are doing. So integration is basically a process of bringing two or more systems together, which allows them to streamline separate processes and exchange data between them. So now coming to why is it important? So consider an enterprise level system, right? For example, say any like Apple, right? So if Apple is there and they use Salesforce as a CRM, they might have other systems. They might have a ERP, right? They might have their own Slack channels which they need to integrate with. They might have their internal databases they need to integrate with. Then they might have some data warehouses where they store their entire database from say like 20 years for analytics. So we might need to push in data from the CRM to their core systems. So it is not just one system. So it is not like the Salesforce or an ERP like NetSuite can handle every and anything. All the systems and tools are built for specific use, and they only can be used for those specific purposes. So in order to maintain an organization ecosystem, it is really important to integrate different systems together. That is wherein the integration capabilities are really important. One of the smallest examples we usually encounter is with integrating Salesforce with Outlook or Gmail, wherein a customer usually wants that their email should be tagged to the leads, right, in Salesforce, so that it is like a crisp view and they don't have to juggle through their inboxes. So that is where integration plays a vital role, and it is one of the core functionalities which every client wants, and also is a core skill set any organization wants in their developers. Now, talking about what is an API, right? So you might have heard about this term a lot. API. It is basically an application programming interface, and it basically means that two applications can talk to each other using one of the protocols called API. So, for example, you have a mobile, right, and you log into Facebook or any other app. It basically connects you to the internet. It grabs the data from the backend server and posts it out there in a kind of a beautiful UI and a readable format. So what is happening in the backend is that your mobile devices are hitting an API to the server, fetching in details, pulling in all the logic, and putting it out there on your mobile screen. So there's no magic happening. It is the integration which is happening from between the server and the client side, which is your mobile, laptop, or watch, or whatever you can call it. So APIs are used across languages. It is not a language specific thing. So any language you use or code in, APIs are common across all, and they are pretty generic, can be used across all the languages. Now talking about Salesforce integration in specific. So Salesforce offers multiple types of integrations. Let's start with the first one, that is suppose somebody wants to push in a lead or probably an account into Salesforce or any custom object, right? They offer certain standard APIs which can be utilized, and we also are going to demo it out at the end of the session today. So basically, they offer the CRUD, REST, and SOAP APIs. REST is something that is pretty widely used with the standard APIs. So it is basically like, suppose someone wants to push in an account into Salesforce. So we can expose that standard API. We don't need to do anything. Like, we did not create any Apex class or anything. They can just utilize that and create, records in Salesforce. So that is pretty widely used, and also it has very low effort because we need not create anything. Then the second one is bulk API. So there are a lot of scenarios wherein we need to push bulk data into the CRM from an external system, say an ERP or maybe a data warehouse, whatever it may be. So here bulk APIs are really important. These are again out of the box by Salesforce. So basically, any API, any data set which is in large volume, right, can be used can be used and pushed using bulk API. They offer parallel as well as parallel processing as well as sequential processing. So that depends on the scenario. But again, a great tool. Then the next tool we can talk about is the external objects and data. That is the Salesforce Connect. So external objects is basically, as of now, everybody knows that we can create objects in Salesforce, and we can also create custom objects, custom fields, and all that. But let's consider that there is another ERP called SAP, right? And in that SAP, there's an invoice object which needs to be utilized as part of the Salesforce ecosystem. So here we can connect that external object using the Salesforce standard Salesforce Connect and OData, and that can be considered as part of Salesforce using this integration. So this is another one of the amazing tools used, and it helps you connect to external systems in a seamless fashion. So you need not hit any APIs using the Apex, but it helps you stay connected with the external systems. This is a standard out of the box functionality provided by Salesforce. So then the next is the streaming API. So streaming API, so the platform events and the push topics we talk about, are dependent on the streaming APIs. And these streaming APIs are something like, they have a kind of a bus-like infrastructure wherein there's an event bus and you push in the events into that event bus. Anybody who has subscribed to that event can listen to it and get notified. So one of the amazing examples is YouTube. If you have subscribed to a YouTube channel, you kind of have the notification on the bell icon, right? That, hey, this is a new post by saasguru, right? So therein, it is kind of a similar streaming API or comedy protocol being used in the backend. We can do similar stuff in Salesforce as well. Now, talking about these were the custom things, right, which you can use to pull in data. But consider that somebody wants to push in certain data, and we need to process it before we save it into the Salesforce, or there's a complex logic which cannot be implemented by the standard API. For example, let's say they push in a lead ID, and we need to share all the duplicate leads corresponding to that particular email, for example, right? So in that case, this can be done using the custom REST source APIs, and we can create the Apex class for that, and write down our logic and return it out to the end customer. But we'll not be talking much about these custom things in this session. Just on a higher level, this is an amazing tool. It is kind of suboptimal because it requires a lot of maintenance since we need to write the Apex logics, but we need to use as required. Now, these were all more about when other system is trying to access data or push in data from Salesforce. So now, if we want to push in data from Salesforce to an external system, we can use Apex callouts or outbound messages. So Apex callouts are again code heavy. They basically require you to write down certain logics and hit the endpoints, configure it out, and structure it in the particular fashion, and then push the data across to the other system, to a third-party adapter or maybe a mobile SDK. And another useful and powerful tool is the outbound message, wherein you can these days you can do it from flow as well. When we started, it was more from workflows, but now it is there in flows. So you can use outbound message if it is a straightforward integration. Just use outbound messages and use it out there to integrate. So these were the important high-level aspects from a Salesforce integration perspective. Now moving to different types of integration. So there are basically two types of integration: inbound integration and outbound integration, if I break it into a higher level. Right. So what is an inbound integration? So inbound integration means that some external service is trying to call you and pull in some information from Salesforce. So in this case, what happens is the client application prepares a kind of a HTTP request, and they tend to have a certain format which is agreed between Salesforce and the third party applications. It is basically the API which Salesforce provides them, and they hit that API. Salesforce checks the authentication if that is an authorized request or not. Post authorization, then they return the data, and that is how the integrations operate. So this is inbound is more about external systems calling us and accessing the data from Salesforce or pushing in the data to Salesforce. It is not just about getting the data, but also probably posting it on Salesforce. Now the next type of integration is outbound. So outbound integration again is about Salesforce sending in data to an external system. So basically, Salesforce again prepares the request and identifies what all data sets needs to be shared in order for the external system to pull in details and give it back to us. We also have some firewalls in middle, which kind of validate the authorizations and if it is an authentic request or not. We'll be also talking about authorization in specific to Salesforce in this session today. Not talking about authentication, right? Authorization and authentication are kind of similar. They have slight differences though, but for now, let's think they're kind of same. So user authentication is something that we'll be talking about in today's session. So there are various aspects of authentication. It is not just user authentication. Salesforce or any organization, they offer different authentication mechanisms. One can be username password flow, and then there are SAML protocols. OpenID Connect is one of them. Then we have JWT, right? There are user agent flows. So different aspects of integration depending on what the scenarios are. So in today's session, we'll be demoing and also covering about username password flows there. So just to consider certain points, right? It is that you'll have to create another profile and mark the password policy as never expired for this API user. You need to make that profile API only. Now API only means that they won't be able to log into the Salesforce environment using the normal Salesforce login. It is only through API they can connect. Then we have to apply certain profile restrictions on the access levels, that what objects they can access and what not, so that they don't access any and everything in the Salesforce ecosystem. Then we have the API should be API only. Then we have certain limits on number of failed attempts. So we need to make sure that password policies never expires for these API users. Right. Talking about data security. So it is really important to have a data security in place. That is the reason how we need to govern how they are accessing the data, and the profile restrictions are in place. Then we also have network authentications. So network authentication is basically, suppose somebody is logged in from a specific IP, you only want to have those whitelisted IPs to be, considered while hitting the API. So you can probably add that on the profile. That okay, these are the whitelisted IPs. Anybody accessing the system outside of these IPs will not be entertained. And then you also might have certain hours wherein you say, okay, within these hours only, you can log in or you can access. So that is also something that you can do. Right. Then security token for login is another important critical aspect for whitelisting. So security token needs to be shared with the external system accessing the API. And I think one of the key aspects here is the profile, because you need to manage, what all can be accessed, what all cannot be accessed from profile. So make sure that profiles are configured perfectly fine. Otherwise, it definitely impacts, and that is a big security breach. Somebody can use the standard APIs from Salesforce and just pull in any information they would like to. So we have JSON, right? So JSON is basically, JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It is like kind of very lightweight language and independent of its format. So it is not a format dependent or a language dependent. It is widely used across all the programming softwares and languages. So it is kind of a common lightweight language which is used to integrate different systems together. And so most of the widely used languages have built-in JSON parsers like Salesforce. So in Salesforce, it is like, if you see here, this first name, last name, and these braces, this is basically a JSON notation. And so if somebody sends this information to us, we can parse it out in an Apex class. I'll show you how to do that. There are certain tools for that. But the important key factor here is that JSON can be easily used, and it has the inbuilt parsers. A lot of these programming languages, they have these inbuilt parsers which can be utilized to parse language, and it is very easy to read. Also pretty lightweight. So let me now, probably demo out how we can use this tools called Admin Boost. This is one of the tools, guys. You can use a lot of other tools. This is something that I frequently use. So for example, this is a JSON, right? It has first name, last name. It has the name, right? This is basically the key, right? And this is value. So the key is first name. If you type in first name, it should give you Sanjeet, and if you type in last name, it should give you Mahajan. So that is how it operates. And this is the Apex class with this, tool will generate. So it is basically a class called JSON to Apex. You can give any custom names you want. Then it gives that, okay, this is of type string and it gives first name. And this is of type string again. The last name is of type string and gives you last name. So so how this will parse is, it will give you this Apex class structure and will put in first name as Sanjeev and last name as Mahajan. So that is how it is currently being used. So for example, let me do it out here for you. So you can give your class name, say, I'll say Sanjeev API for now, right? So this gives you the corresponding Apex class, which can be used in Apex for parsing this particular JSON. It also gives you this method called parse. If you want to use it, you can use it. Otherwise, that's okay, right? And then it gives you a test parsing as well. So this is one of the great tools. Probably these two are the lines which are most important to you. This can be handled otherwise as well. But yeah, so you basically deserialize this. You can use system.json.deserialize, put in your JSON string, which is basically this, right? And then give the class name where you want to parse in. So this will return you this Apex class structure. I hope everybody is aware about what is a wrapper. It will basically give you this wrapper with the first name and last name. That is how this tool can be used, and it is one of the amazing tools, right, to be used. This is very pretty basic JSON, but a lot of time we have really complex JSON structures which we cannot parse manually at times. So this tool can be used for that. Now talking about XML, right? So XML is another programming language, not programming probably, but yeah, data exchanging language, and it stands for extensible markup language. And XML is like it is pretty much similar to HTML. It has different tags, but not the standard HTML body table tags. This has something like a contact tag. Sorry for that. The contact tab is the parent, right? And then you have first name or last name as the child contacts, child tags. Sorry, and then you kind of have a closure here. So it is more on the lines of HTML, and XML is mainly used with SOAP APIs. So SOAP API pretty much function aggressively on XMLs. And it was again designed to store and transport the data similar to JSON. It has like these two languages can be used, JSON as well as XML, but they have like their own different use cases. So, talking about the tools we can work with, so we have Workbench, we have Postman, and I think I'm not sure if you are aware of these tools. So these are again amazing tools. The Workbench is kind of offering by Salesforce, which you can use directly. I'll demo it out as well. And then we have Postman, which is another global tool which is used for testing the APIs. So this is probably the first step as soon as we receive the API to test the APIs out using Postman, rather than start developing and then realizing that the API was not working and all. So we'll be moving towards a demo now. So I'll be demoing a couple of things here. The first is how to authenticate, right? Creating a connected app in the Salesforce ecosystem, and then using that connected app to fetch and push in information. How to use Workbench from API perspective, and use Postman from API perspective. Let me start with creating a connected app here. So basically, this is my dev org, right? Once you log in, you can go to setup, and from setup, search for app manager. Go to the app manager. So I've already created this API authentication. Let me show you this. Otherwise, you can click on the new connected app here and start creating the connected app. Let me click on it. So here you can give the name of the connected app, whatever you like. You can push in your email, right? And then you can give the redirect callback URLs. These are required for certain flows, for certain flows that are not required. For example, with the username password flow, which we are testing now, it is not required, right? And then we have this scope. So you can put in the scope whatever you like. Don't put all or full access, because then the API user can access any and everything into the system. Just specify, okay, they can access data via API and they can use the refresh token. Refresh token is again used for offline accesses, and also it helps you refresh the instance anytime, every time, and not hit the token API again and again. Then all these checkboxes can be ignored for now. Sounds good. Once this is done, you can hit save. So here, once you click on the manage customer details, it will give you the customer key and customer secret, which we'll be using in our authentication API. Let me go to manage first. Some internet glitch. Like, let me relog in. Connected. Go to the manager. Looks to be some issue here. But yeah, so from manage, basically we need to pre-authorize in the profiles which can access this particular connected app. So once you pre-authorize them, then anybody using that can be can access this connected app. So that is another tool. Now let me show you how to use it out. So let me go to my Postman. So basically, Postman is one of the tools which we can use to hit the APIs and validate. So herein is where you need to add the URL. So this is basically the Salesforce token URL you can use, and Then you need to put in grant type, client ID, client secret, username, and password of the user you want to use. I won't be able to show you that because it has some sensitive information. But similar to this grant type, you can see here, we can add username, password, client ID, client secret, and other stuff. So, and the method should be post here. And once you hit send, right, it gives you this access token. So this access token can be picked up from here. Now talking about the standard APIs which we were discussing, right? So this is one of the standard APIs offered by Salesforce. This is basically your URI, and then you have services slash data slash the version, which version you want to use, then objects, then account, and then the ID of that particular account. So if you push in that particular ID here and do a get request, right? And you can use the authorization. Let me use the new access token I have recent now generated, and I hit send. So it returns me this JSON structure, right? It has all the details. What are the record types? Most of the fields look to be blank to me, but yeah, it gives me what is the currency code, right? What is the clean status and all. And now this, so this is like a bigger JSON which which we were earlier talking about. So this JSON can again be parsed by an external system using the JSON to Apex, or then they can convert it to an Apex class and then use all this information and store it in their system. So these APIs are really helpful in terms of how you can use it out. And this is pretty standard. So if you want to pull in lead, just instead of account, you can push in lead and give the ID. So in that way, you can also extract the leads here. One of the you know amazing things about Salesforce is that it has a lot of APIs. It has like composite APIs, bulk APIs. So you can pretty much leverage the standard APIs before sharing with external system a custom API. 90% time standard APIs can do the stuff. So this was about Postman. Now let me move to the Workbench, right? So this is the Workbench URL. You can go here. It'll ask you for login. Just log in using your dev or credentials, or probably the production or credentials, whatever you want to use, or sandbox, right? So it has certain things you can log out from here. You have settings here. Then you have certain info about the standard and custom objects here. You can query, you can have async queries, SOSL. This was something I was talking about, streaming push using the comet, the long polling protocol. And you can query it out here, and you can insert data, you can deploy and do a lot of stuff. Currently, today we'll be talking about the REST Explorer. I think I'll have to log in again. Okay, here I am. So I'm logged in here. Now, this is the REST Explorer offered by Workbench. So you can pretty much say use similar API as we did in Postman, but you don't need to authorize here because it is already logged in. So since you logged into your org, it has pre-authorized you. Now you can click on execute. It will give you the result. Now this is about get, right? So for example, now I suppose I want to create a account from an external system. Now in order to do that, I'll change the method to post, right? And let's say I want to create account, say with name as easy. So you see here, it returned me, it says, okay, this account was successfully created with this particular ID. Now, if I go to my Salesforce instance, you can see the Keezy account has been created by myself, and today at 12:11 p.m. So this is very powerful, and can be used for external systems to create account. This is just a small example. If you want to see how many APIs are there, you can go to you can put get and go to services slash data slash version and S objects. It'll give you a list of all the S objects you can use. And suppose you want to use Apex trigger, right? So it gives you all the details as well. Then gives you all the URLs you have for those. So you can even extract Apex trigger details. You can have the describe details, a lot of other details from this pretty useful tool. Workbench can be used for testing, and then you can share the details with the customers there. So this is how we can utilize the standard APIs.